Welcome one, welcome all to episode 259 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, January 18th, 2025. I'm your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logun. Today, we'll be discussing the announcement of the Switch 2 and how we expect that to impact the Xbox ecosystem overall. Will it be a detriment to Xbox with competition or a boon to the various franchises that are going to end up there? Stick around, we'll figure it out. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Logan, you and I like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's been a pretty interesting week so far in gaming. So I'm looking forward to the topics that we have. But yeah, I got some new lights for streaming and podcasting and stuff. So I'm feeling a lot brighter. My brain feels smarter as a result. I can feel like I'm less in the dark about things. Any other light puns I could make up right now? But yeah, no, I've been going with a brand called Newer for a lot of like streaming stuff. Like my mic arm is newer. These lights are newer, and they're significantly cheaper than Elgato brand stuff. And while you don't necessarily have like the integration that Elgato does, it does the job. So I'm actually really happy about that. How about you? How's your week going?
The week has been hectic, busy, stressful, and emotional. Which is
normal for you.
Yeah, it feels like it. No, we had a very packed week at school. Just a very packed week, and a lot of emotions were running high for a lot of different things. Personal life as well as just everything at school has just been intense this week, which was not bad. Mind you, got through it, which was crazy. And we're looking forward to the nice 3-day weekend in celebration of Dr. King this Monday. And then we've got weather potentially on the way that may impact like my schedule. But if I could be honest with you, I'm really excited because on the XEP side of things, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, we published our review of the Steam Deck. We published our review of the Turtle Beach Pivot controller. Very proud of both of those on our channel. You're reviewing the headset A50s, but then new as of this week, confirmed, I guess you would say, I have a preview coming out next week of a very big game that I'm very excited to preview and be part of that process because it's the second preview event XEP has been a part of. Got a code for one AA level game that I'm excited for that I'm reviewing. I'll have time to work on that over the next few days. Interview next week with the Power Ranger developers if their schedule holds. That's been bumped a few times, so we'll see. But then we have 2 secret reviews that I get to work on also. So I'm really excited on the XEP side of things. These secret reviews, one of them is among my most anticipated of this year. And so I'm looking forward to it because, and you know this well, and anybody that checks my Steam or Xbox stuff, because it's public, right? Like it's not like it's hidden. I've been really in this very Luke recovery phase from 2024 where I've just been playing superhero game after superhero game because it fills my cup of joy, you know? So I went through, all the MetaQuest and Steam Deck reviews, but I did that using a lot of my superhero games. And so after finishing up Arkham's Shadow, Blackgate, City, and Night, doing like all the Riddler trophies and stuff, which I take great joy in, I moved on to Spider-Man Remastered. And then starting this weekend, we'll be back to the work side of game coverage in a fun way, right? Because I don't take on reviews that I'm not interested in. So it's been cool. Like there's a lot to celebrate. You know what I mean?
Definitely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing like how those go and what you think of the games that you're going to be reviewing. I'm definitely a little jealous. I wish I could I wish I could jump in and actually like see what those are going to be like early, but I'm willing to wait for when they actually release. And I saw that the first Berserker Kazan demo went live, and I saw some folks playing that and some people really talking positively about that. And to be perfectly honest, for my words of kindness, I wanted to shout out the fantasy league that we did this week with the Nerd Chat and Bitcast and Trophy Room, where we actually drafted first Berserker Kazan, and that was kind of a late pick for us, but I'm really happy to see that's getting some love from the demo. But yeah, my words of kindness this week, I want to shout out all the podcasts that kind of came together for our little Voltron fantasy league. I think we did pretty well.
In the picks? Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I think we sniped a lot of picks that the nerd chat wanted. And you know, I have no qualms about that, because you know, it just shows that we had good picks that other people were looking forward to.
Yeah.
So
Would you
I'm really happy about that.
If possible, can you throw the link so that people can look at our picks and stuff into the chat?
Yeah. That's a really, I don't know if it's public or not, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, check that out. And while you do that, I'm gonna shout out a couple people. Can of Beans in the chat. Yes, exams were one of the things I was kind of referencing. You did a great job, buddy. I'm very proud of you. I wanted to do my words of kindness while you look at that. And part of the two of my words of kindness extend to members of the nerd chat, both Daddy D Wally and Bubble Boy and Seven. Each are going through it on their personal side and having to balance and deal with a whole lot of stuff. And so I know that they are having a very emotional week as well, but in more serious and different ways. And so I just wanted to give them words of love, because going through it, pardon me, emotionally is not necessarily a fun thing to do. And so heads up to you and good vibes there, guys. I also want to give a shout out to Clint Coombs, who has also been going through it. And I know that the personal life has just been difficult, and he's been a member of our community for the longest time. Thinking about you, bud. Hope you're doing well, my friend. And I, you know, for all the gaming talk, it's nice to see, or to be able to support people on a personal side.
Yeah, definitely. And I shout out to Daddy D Wally as well too, you know, coming in real close to the starting time for our fantasy league, and with good cause. But definitely glad that the family's doing better, and that they learned some stuff this week. Yeah. And you know, everyone's doing well, everyone's safe, everyone's recovering. So happy to know that. And I know that a lot of folks out there, you know, myself included, we're all dealing with stuff. And it's always good to remember that, like when you're chatting with folks, that not everyone's, you know, we're all here to have fun and chat. But you know, afterwards we definitely have to put on the big boy pants, or you know, the adult hat, and take care of stuff, and just kind of like make sure that, you know, be a little empathetic to folks out there. It's always worth it.
Yeah, agreed. I will say, what did I want to say? First, I'm coming in hot, straight off a morning workout that ran long, and it ran long because I was doing so well, which I'm really happy about. I'm not sure if I like this shirt on camera. It's very nice, like not on camera, but sometimes like things don't play well. It's doing this weird like visual effect that I'm not a fan of.
It's a little loose. I'm not gonna say. You need to, needs to be a little bit tighter for a workout shirt.
It was leg day. No, I didn't wear this one when I exercised. I swapped. Okay. But I don't like the visual effect on camera. I might switch partway through just because I feel like
it does remind me a little bit of that like TV test that they put up, like the little black and white thing.
Yeah.
You know? Like I feel like you're a little scrambled down below.
It doesn't look like that in person. That's the funny thing. But sometimes on camera things play differently. There was also something else I want to say. Oh, Khalif Adams was scheduled to be with us last week. Didn't make it, got the times mixed up, and then I've not heard back from him. I messaged him midweek, so my presumption is that he's doing okay and that just forgot or mixed up, but he did tell me he'd be here, isn't here, and I do not assume the worst in those cases. I don't think bad things. I think probably it's just real life got in the way, or schedule again mishaps. But if you talk to Khalif on socials, give him a hard time, because we were hoping to have him here today. And I want to shout out Spawn on Me. They do great work over there. He had on Alyssa Mercante for a very poignant conversation of social interactions in the video game space. And while he's not here, I do want to sing his praises on account of the fact that whether you agree or disagree with some of the opinions that might come out of his show or the guests that he has on, he brings a conversation in an eloquent and formal and respectful way that cause people to reflect on their morality in this space. And so I think that's a useful and good thing. And so I guess if we're still in words of kindness, I do want to shout him out, absent or not, because I appreciate the work he does in the industry. So
definitely. Yeah. It's like Neil Druckmann said that I know Troy Baker likes to bring up, you know, whether you like it or not, I just want you to feel. And that's definitely what he brings with Spawn on Me a lot of the time, with the guests and stuff that he has. Just his presence in the content creation industry has definitely gotten a lot of folks to like recognize that there are good creators out there having good discussions on a regular basis, and that does not always have to come from big outlets.
Correct.
And that is me, saying that, not to say that his isn't a big outlet, because it definitely is.
I think comparatively, we understand what you mean.
Yeah, but he, compared to like IGN or the Washington Post, or like a Kind of Funny Daily, stuff like that, Spawn on Me is definitely one that most people probably don't throw into that mix, and they honestly should. It's kind of like how I feel about like Xbox Era and stuff. Like they're big names out there doing good work, and definitely deserve the praise that they need. This has been a pretty busy week for gaming with the announcement of the Switch 2, so I don't blame anyone for being busy or just unable to like social battery it out kind of thing.
Absolutely. And that is our first topic. So let's kind of get to that, right? Let's get to that. Is the Switch 2, which was announced this week, and it feels like I think the general consensus in the gaming industry is that the Switch 2, its announcement did not come at a time that Nintendo was necessarily wanting it to, that they planned to perhaps do this a little bit later in the year. But the number of third-party leaks for the actual unit was mounting. And when I say leaks, I don't mean like, content creator A or B is mentioning it, or Jeff Grubb or Jez Corden's reporting on it. What I mean more is that like physical developers, third-party manufacturers that make accessories and such had molds of this device, and it was getting out there pretty heavily. And so to that end, I think Nintendo's hand was forced a bit. And as a result, they had to announce sooner. They put out a brief trailer on it. I watched it. The biggest takeaway is that the screen is much bigger and the Joy-Cons attached differently. That was my biggest takeaway from it. I thought about running the trailer B-roll style while we talked about it, and then remembered that ninjas from Nintendo will show up, and I was like, no.
I love the little ninjas. The fact that they actually employed the Super Mario Brothers 2 ninjas for their ninjas is
good of them.
Like, it's really smart.
Absolutely.
You're missing one of the big things that I think a lot of people are very curious about that we don't know about, and that's, well, two technically. One, there's IR sensors on the edges of the inside edges of the Joy-Con, and the trailer showed off them kind of little race carring around like little Tron light cycles, which indicates to us that the rumors of them being used as mice, like mice-like device, like you would use for your computer PC. Okay, that is an option. And if that's the case, there's going to be a lot of interesting interactions with games that we normally wouldn't expect a mouse or cursor to be utilized for content on consoles. So that gap could be bridging a little bit more between mice and keyboard kind of thing. The other aspect of it is that the C button that we've seen in product leaks from actual like manufacturer factories, like snapping photos, the C button had a C label on it, and we don't know what the C stands for. I think it's for cursor mode, but that wouldn't make sense if it was like for both Switch Joy-Cons, because it's only on one side. But there's definitely a button there that has a lot of mystery to it, that a lot of folks are kind of curious, like, what is the point of that thing? So, but outside of that, you're not wrong. Like, it is a bigger Switch, and it's going to be better, and I think that's what a lot of folks have been wanting for a long time.
So one of the things that I want to postulate here, and it's kind of the theme of our episode, is whether or not this is competition or cooperation for the Xbox ecosystem. And I say ecosystem because I don't know what it means to be Xbox anymore, and I don't say that rudely or cruelly either. Like, Xbox is changing. That's why we are trying to review and check out more hardware, right? And having just come off of the Steam Deck review. By the way, hello Silconet, hello Can of Beans, hello Killer Crisis and James Suddy, Gentle Stone, Nerd Chat, Nicholas Johnson in chat. Good to see you guys. But after coming off the Steam Deck review, and freshly, mind you, right? Like, other people had played the Steam Deck for years at this point. And admittedly, I played the 1 terabyte OLED, but having come off that, and now that is a daily driver for me, whereas my VR headset is when I have the energy and my eyes are good, because we know I have rough eyes. I love my VR headset and play it regularly, but the daily driver aspect of the Steam Deck is there, right? Like, that is a daily thing for me still, review in the rear view. And so when I look at what the Switch 2 might bring to the table, I wonder how it will impact the Xbox ecosystem, because we've already had devices that do bigger screens, a number of them from a number of manufacturers. A cursor mode, a mouse mode, to me, it does not, okay, on paper right now on January 18th, does not feel impressive in the slightest, because it reminds me of like Snipper Clips. Remember that game from Switch 1's launch?
Oh, yeah.
Great game, real fun, but all gimmick, right? All gimmick. And a fun time, but I worry that Nintendo's attempt to be unique will have the Snipper Clips Labo type effect, and they'll be left in the 1-2 Switch, another good example, right? 1-2 Switch was meant to be the Wii Sports type feel for the Switch. Again, spotlighting the new development, what it could do, but it just didn't land. Kind of like Kinect Adventures. It was really fun when Kinect first one just launched. And so very fascinated, curious if it's going to be a niche use thing. Like, why is this built into the hardware? Is it the back sensor touch from the Vita 1?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm not sure about.
So one of the interesting things about this is because I imagine, like, much like you're suggesting, Nintendo tends to put in some sort of hardware gimmick, something to kind of like give them something fun to play with each iteration that they did. With the Wii U, it was the actual tablet mode, and using that as like a secondary screen, or as like a, like you can put it on the floor and pretend that you're actually like, hitting a golf ball off of the tablet in Mario Golf. With the Wii, it was the waggle. With the GameCube, that was like the actual change in the button. And then like the Game Boy player and the Game Boy Advance Connect cables and stuff, there was always gimmicks. They finally added modems. With the Switch, it was the actual Switch. It was the switching from handheld to docked mode, and the Joy-Cons being taken off with the IR sensors. Those were a lot of gimmicks in that hardware, and they had to sell a lot of people on it. Now with the Switch 2, we're just getting a better iteration of it. That console, that cursor mode, I think could be utilized in a lot of different ways. And I'm really interested to get into the conversation about how Xbox could actually utilize this for some of their games that we don't typically get to see. But when it comes to Nintendo, I will expect that we are going to be getting a Mario game that is a 3D platformer that is going to be something like the Mario Odyssey, by just the new version of the Mario Odyssey. And because of that, I think they're going to try and work in whatever this is to some degree. I don't expect it to be major. It may not be utilized at all, but they do like to try and shove their little gimmicks into some of like the mainline stuff. Like with the Switch Con, you would waggle it, and that would be like a way that you could, do moves in Mario Odyssey. Like you could throw your hat with the actual gesture. So I'm kind of wondering if Nintendo's going that way, but there's ideas that I have for this cursor mode that would translate over to Xbox games if that's something that were to even happen. So
first I want to point out, because like I think about this and I'm like, cool, but I don't trust Nintendo to have their ducks in a row for the optimal experience that like an Xbox game would demand. And that sounds very elitist, but take it how I mean it. When you look at like the Xbox Pantheon that's available to them, the catalog that's available to them that you use as a mouse, you got your Halo Wars kind of on the console bleeding over to PC, vice versa side, but then you've got your more elite stuff like Warcraft, World of Warcraft, things that are there. And I don't necessarily see those things happening. And Silken It correctly in chat points out, and by the way, hit the like button if you guys are so willing, it'd be amazing. It would be more useful to have a real Bluetooth mouse compatibility, but I don't expect them to open that. And that's kind of what I think too. Do I want the optimal experience of a Bluetooth connected mouse on a Switch? And how is that different than, say, using keyboard and mouse on console? Because that's a very niche use scenario, right? Not a lot of people make use of that. And in terms of impacting the Xbox ecosystem, like, do we expect Xbox to put mouse and keyboard availability or mouse functionality into their catalog? Because I think you and I are both confident Xbox games are going over, right?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's fair to assume that the opportunity there is ripe for Xbox to do it. How far they go is really the question. Like how many games, what kind of games? Like a lot of people have been talking about games that would really be considered sacrilege in a world where Xbox is still making hardware to be putting that kind of IP over on the Switch. And I'll just say it's a lot of people are kind of wondering, like, are they going to port the Master Chief Collection over to the Switch? And that's a really hard question to answer. It's a really dangerous question to even approach, because it's going to butt up against so many people's expectations of what Xbox is. You've got Mario, and then you've got Master Chief, and then whatever Sony Astrobot, I guess. But for all intents and purposes, like, each company has their mascot, and to see those transfer over feels about as important or dangerous as like when you saw Crash Bandicoot and Spyro showing up on Nintendo games, or Sonic showing up on Nintendo consoles and stuff. So I'm very curious to see, will games like the Halo Wars series make a good opportunity or a good argument for them to be putting over on the Switch, where you have like a cursor functionality to be able to like have your army kind of selected a little bit better. You know, RTS is famously known for being mostly just mouse and keyboard. Halo Wars the exception to that. And would that work? Would that be something that could actually benefit console gamers who want to have a little bit more control? Like, we still don't know if Splatoon 3 is going to be something that would be able to be utilized with a cursor mode. And that's something a lot of people are like, okay, well, what kind of games would work with this? What kind of games would make sense with a mouse kind of style game?
I want to point out Todd Oxtra's comment here. RTS would make sense for mouse support. Mario Paint, Mario Maker. Yes. His point is well taken. I just question, is that worth building in at a hardware level? Right, like if Mario Kart 9 has buildable tracks, is that worth building in on the hardware level for niche case designs? Something Nintendo does, mind you. Nintendo does do that. You know,
I would say for Nintendo, because I mean, like, how many things really utilize the IR sensor on the bottom of the right Joy-Con outside of Labo,
snipper clips, like little weird gimmick games? I feel, you know,
it's a pretty niche hardware choice, but they still went with it and they still committed to it. When it comes to Nintendo, I feel like they overcommit on gimmicks, and that's really where a lot of people are just like, it's just Nintendo, they can get away with it, it's not that expensive for them, and they had an idea and they pushed it, and whatever happens, we'll always just remember, like, oh, like Ring Fit Adventure or Labo are not going to work on the Switch too. They're just the hardware's too different, and that's just what Nintendo's okay with doing. So even if this cursor mode doesn't work for a lot of games, they justify it with like one or two.
Right. So let's consider that again. Open secret assumption, what have you, unconfirmed, but we genuinely think. Actually, I'm going to put that brief thing on hold. Split End saying, "Hey fam, lurking on mute as I'm editing something fun that has Luke's voice in it." Yes, I got to join Split End for an episode with one of the Windows Central creators, Sam Tolbert, and it was a blast. And I did leak, tongue-in-cheek statement, the name of the new Call of Duty. So keep your eye out on Split End socials and gamingtrend.com for that. And then Split End very kindly gifting an XEP membership. Thank you so much, man. That really means the world. We've got a couple of the renewal things on softwares and podcast, like you get to pay Podbean to distribute your podcast. A couple of those renewals are coming in the next month and a half across 2 different places. So thank you, man. You really are helping me out, and I appreciate you. So to go back to my point now, Logan, I think it's very commonly understood or believed that Xbox titles are going to be there for launch at the Switch 2, right? I want to discuss which ones we believe are going to be there with confidence, followed by what we expect as far as this Switch 2 in terms of it being competition for the handheld market that currently exists and the one in future where Xbox will be. So let's start by saying which titles we believe will show up from Xbox on the Switch 2 in the first, let's say, 6 months. My first gut reaction, Master Chief Collection will be there.
I will see that, and I will add to it Sea of Thieves.
Okay. I've been thinking, because you've postulated Sea of Thieves before, and
Yeah.
I'm on the fence back and forth, right? Like, you ask me 1 minute, I'm like, definitely 100%. Ask me 10 minutes later, I'm like, I don't know, a live service game on a Switch device, how well will that work? I neglected to check Sea of Thieves on like Steam Deck and ROG Ally and such, so I'm, again, toiling with it. So do you want it, or do you believe it will be there? Will be there, or you want it there?
I think it will be there. I don't have any inside knowledge on this, but I do think it will be there because they've been able to port it to the PlayStation 5. The new hardware may take the developers some time to get there, so I don't know if it'll necessarily be there at launch. It may be in there within the first launch window, which according to the Jim Ryan was like a year and a half. So I think that, or actually, no, I take that back. I think he said like 8 months. I think Sea of Thieves would do well on there. And with regard to live service games, Fortnite's on there. So if Fortnite survives, so does any other live service game. It just depends on the live service game.
A well-made point. Yeah.
Maybe Concord not going to do so well, but
But Concord Remastered set to light the world on fire.
Yeah. So I do think that with the Switch 2, and with it being able to do some of the AI frame generation stuff that they're talking about, I think that we'll be able to see a lot more games come over, especially games from the PS4 and Xbox One era.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those games, they are still in use today. Like, I would not be surprised if GTA 5 eventually makes its way over to the Switch with the Switch 2.
Switch 2, not 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Sickle Shells has a question for you in chat regarding Sea of Thieves. He's asking, are the water effects in Sea of Thieves cloud-based?
No.
I thought it was the weather that was input like universally across the
so the clouds in Sea of Thieves are volumetric. The water is all shaders and volumes. It is all it's a very special. There's a lot of like work that goes into the water, but again, like Sea of Thieves is still supported on the Xbox One VCR. Mm-hmm. Like that is a very low powered system. Mm-hmm. It's all Unreal Engine 4. There's no reason, based on some of the leaks that we've seen with the architecture and the power that the Switch 2 is purported to have, just based on what like I've gleaned from Digital Foundry. Now, granted, those guys are smart. I have no clue what they're talking about when it comes to hardware, but they dumb it down enough for me to get a general idea that Sea of Thieves would not have a problem running on the Switch 2, and I think that would be actually a really good port for them, just due to the nature of like how kind of cartoony Sea of Thieves is, and how that falls in line with games like Fortnite and Mario and Zelda and stuff, where they have kind of a little bit more leeway when it comes to the realism. So like a 720p Sea of Thieves still looks good compared to like a 1080 or 4K. Mm-hmm. As long as you're looking at it like on an appropriate screen.
Gotcha. Okay, fair enough. So on our list right now for games we believe will be there in the first 6 months, Sea of Thieves and Master Chief Collection. Did you agree with Master Chief Collection, by the way?
Oh yeah. No, okay. I think that would be. I think that would be. It would be a hard thing for a lot of like Xbox diehards to accept. But I think it'd be really fun to see what they do with a Master Chief Collection. I'm pretty sure Halo Infinite isn't Halo Infinite still on Xbox One as well? Or is that just Xbox Series? I can't actually remember. I think it's just Infinite.
I think it's on Xbox Series. One also.
Is it?
I can't remember either.
Chat, fact check us. That's what your job is. You're not sitting around getting free content for nothing. Get on the internet and do something that's not AI. Do not go to Google's AI. I don't want to hear what they have to say about how Halo Infinite is still available on the 360. Okay, it's all messed up now. It used to be smart. It's all bad now.
It is. Google is now set up to answer questions, not provide search results. That's what you're alluding to.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. They're trying to answer stuff instead of actually like provide you sources. Correct. But so, yeah, no, I think Master Chief would be a really, really good. The only thing that I ask is that Microsoft gives us like all of the stuff that we've earned in the Master Chief collection and bring it over the way that it did with like Diablo 3. Like that's all I want.
Like the idea that you log in and get your achievements.
I want my skins.
I think you'll get that, because one of the funny moments for me when reviewing the Steam Deck was like when you have Master Chief Collection, which runs great there, by the way. You log into your Xbox account, right? Which you do on Switch when you play like Minecraft and such. Yeah. I logged into my Xbox account, logged in and got my cloud saves for Master Chief Collection. And I kid you not, Logan, for over 30 minutes, achievements were popping on my Steam Deck. And I could have found a way to like turn notifications off, but I got to be honest, like the novelty of it was kind of funny. Yeah. And so I just left it and just looked over. I turned the volume down, but like I looked over at it just to see how long is this going to take. And it was funny. So I anticipate that if you have a Switch 2 and this game, it does show up there, which we anticipate it to. There you go, right? Like there it is. So.
Yeah, we know it's the same joy that I think a lot of PlayStation fans get when they go from like the PS4 to PS5 versions of their games that they platinumed, and they get to watch the PS5 platinum trophies pop.
Logging in on to Spider-Man Remastered on Steam Deck did not pop trophies, even though I had to log into my PlayStation account.
You know, it's weird. I booted up my PlayStation 5 the other night to jump on to Sea of Thieves in the living room on the nice TV, and not all of my achievements have carried over, and I don't know why, because I've got quite a few achievements, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I did that.
Just because I'm curious, because it would affect cloud saves on Switch or Xbox, PlayStation, where anytime you do like a cross-platform game now, when you say your achievements, do you mean your trophies or your in-game like commendations and such?
The trophies.
Okay.
So like there are achievements that I earned in Xbox on Switch that for whatever reason are still locked. Now, granted, when I did log in to Sea of Thieves, for whatever reason, like a handful of them popped when I logged in, and I was like, okay, well, I don't quite know what the prompter is for this. Nerd Chat's asking in chat, do we even know in terms of leaks about the Wi-Fi versions that Switch will run Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7? That matters for games like Fortnite and Sea of Thieves. Anything that is like with Fortnite running on Switch right now, like I can play Switch. I'm playing up against like mobile and tablet kids, which is, that's fun. But I'm sure that for whatever reason, the Switch 2 will probably start lumping in people from like last gen and current gen, just given that it's probably going to go. But I don't know that we know details off of the leaks. I don't remember anything that I've seen like Digital Foundry talk about as far as terms of the actual chips. They've been a lot more invested in the RAM and CPU modules. So unfortunately, I don't know on that one.
Yeah, but it's a good question, a worthwhile one.
Yeah.
And frankly, like honestly, I think those are the types of questions that we would have had Nintendo been able to announce on their own terms.
Yeah. This definitely felt like they needed to get the trailer up, and that they were kind of just like putting it up for the sake of putting it up. The direct itself is coming out in April on the 2nd. And I imagine that's when we'll actually start to get more details on like what the actual hardware gimmicks are, and also like a list of launch titles, which based on Nate the Hate,
my best friend.
Yeah, it's going to be the next Mario Kart game, which we know, and is probably going to be a lot better than what the current one is. It's going to be Red Dead Redemption 2, which is amazing because that's a big game. And then the unannounced Mario 3D platformer.
When you say unannounced, is this like rumored, or is this something Logan's thinking?
No, this is what he rumored. He said that these were the 3 titles that they were going to launch with. Okay. I imagine Ubisoft is going to. I know a lot of indie developers based on Reb over at IGN. She was saying that she talked to a lot of indie developers who were stating that they are working on titles for platforms like Xbox, PlayStation, and other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So
at this point, all the handhelds are all those things too. Like Asus is making things that you're playing, so it's hard to mention that.
So I expect that we will probably start to see more games getting announced for the Switch too, as like the next couple months come through, and that will add to the list of games that they talk about.
Yeah, you expect Skull and Bones and Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws. Like for Ubisoft, they're going to desperately try to recover some of the lost values or loss indicators they've had over the last 2 years, I bet.
Yes. I will expect games like Assassin's Creed Mirage to come over. Far Cry 5 to come over. I don't know about Shadows. I think Shadows
is coming.
Is going to come, but I think I don't know that it's going to come like right at launch, in my opinion. So unless you know otherwise.
I don't know otherwise. No. I know some stuff now because people that we talk to know stuff, right? Like I don't have the source in there.
Yeah.
There are only a very few games that I have sources for. Like I was very confident in a couple. I shared something on one of our community episodes a few weeks back, and like that I have a source on about a TMNT game, right? Like I have a source for that. I do not have a source for a lot of stuff. I know the people with the sources, and I don't know that counts, right?
Yeah.
For kicks, and then we need to get back to our topic. Nerd Chat asks, question for both: who are your Mario Kart mains? I lived in Mario Kart 8 for the first 25 years that it was out, because it's been out forever at this point. But Luigi and Link have always been my Mario Kart mains. If they're green, I tend to gravitate towards them. That was kind of my thing. I don't know what to tell you there. But that was kind of my jam. I really loved all the Hyrule stuff that showed up in Mario Kart 8. Whilst I was playing it. Yeah, like I loved it. I loved the Wii U, but I knew it was bad. You know what I mean? Like it was bad. And then I loved the Switch for the first 2 years I had it, and then I haven't touched it since.
I'm back in.
Are you back in? That's great to see. I see Animal Crossing's in your background. I'm happy to see you're back in. I don't think you would be back in if you had handled what's happening here?
Oh, that's my cat. God.
Okay.
She's on the desk.
Pick that cat up. I'm gonna give you a little solo layout. This is the cat that's causing all the problems. Look at that cat. That's a fat cat.
She's a tiny cat.
That cat adds that camera adds 10 pounds.
She's not happy about that.
She's
been purring on the desk for this whole time. Yeah, like I sorry, you were gonna say I wouldn't be into the Switch if something.
I don't. Correct. Yes. Again, we are very transparent with our audience. My hope is to try and find a contact with Asus or Lenovo so that we can review another piece of hardware. I don't think you'd be into the Switch had you handled the Steam Deck review. And I'm curious if we are able to get a handheld and your time and schedule allows for it. If you're able to go hands-on and do the review for it, if you would still be interested. And again, not a diss, not a dunk on the Switch because it revolutionized the modern game industry. Genuinely great device. I just think it no longer, like to me, it is a toy where the Steam Deck feels like technology. Don't misunderstand. I want to be clear. I think of it as a toy, but like I have a freaking Dragon Zord on my desk. There's Master Chief action figures. I'm not casting a stone from a glass house, but comparatively, you put a Switch next to a Steam Deck in my mind, which I can do. It feels like one's a toy and one's a piece of technology. I hope that my point is taken there.
It's a funny way to phrase it. First off, to address Nerd Chat's question, Adult Link has always been my main. I've always gone with Adult Link, and I absolutely love the Hyrule stuff. I would love the Hyrule tracks that they have in Mario Kart 8. If they were to take that aesthetic and apply that to an Ocarina of Time through like remake, that would be a beautiful game. It'd be absolutely beautiful game. But to answer your question, I've been getting into Animal Crossing because of the Switch. The Switch 2 is more what?
I cut you off because I was taken aback. Beavis and Butthead may genuinely be trolling. The Switch 2 is more powerful than the Steam Deck.
I mean, it's Beavis and Butthead.
Right. Like that's got to be a troll comment. That can't be a real thing. Right. I do not think that's happening.
As far as the power of this, I actually don't know. But if the Switch 2 were to be more powerful than like the Steam Deck, I think that's just an even better use case for the games that we could see on there, because there's a lot of titles that are coming out now that are Steam Deck compatible and verified. So I honestly, I hope it is. I don't think it will be, because I think a lot of people have been postulating that it is going to be like a little bit between like a PS4 and a PS4 Pro. Probably not a PS4 Pro.
Follow-up question from Coffee Jesus. Switch is aiming at an entirely different audience than the Steam Deck, though. I don't think that's true. I think they're not aiming at an entirely. I think there's overlap now. I think at one point, or I'm sorry, I think in some ways there is a different audience of the two. Children most likely aren't going hands-on with your $500 to $700 handheld Steam Deck or ROG Ally and such. But there is an overlap now that didn't exist, say, like when you had your Vitas and your PS4 versions of games. So I don't think that that's an entirely true statement, Coffee Jesus, but I think the mass adopters of the Switch 2 will be different than a Steam Deck. You know? Does that make sense?
I think, yeah. Well, I guess this kind of goes back to our bet, because a lot of like analysts were speculating that the Switch 2 is going to be around $400, which kills my dream of having them discontinue the Switch 1 product line and replacing it with the Switch 2, with eventually coming out with their own version of a Switch 2 Lite and a Switch 2 OLED, because I don't think we're going to get an OLED on the launch version.
Correct.
So with that being the case, $400 is butting up against that Series S price point. It's also butting up against the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition price point. It's also butting up against the low end version of the LCD version of the Steam Deck. It is competing with other entries into the game industry at a price point, if that's actually what the price point is going to be. That is going to make people who love Nintendo, like myself, and want to play those games, but still have access to content that we still cherish from last generation. So I think it is competing on the same market. But I do think that it does have that expanded market with the child audience there as well too. It's just less of a focus for companies like Sony and Microsoft.
Again, I'm really enjoying Coffee Jesus being in chat today. Asks a wonderful question. Says, do you not think Steam Deck would be overwhelming for someone who's not a hardcore gamer? Great question. And again, something that I felt during my review. The Steam Deck is a wonderful entry point for someone who's new to that ecosystem. Like when you boot it up, it's a very simple layout. The store is easily accessible, and it is the most console-like experience on a PC-esque platform that I've ever seen. So overwhelming? No. Intimidating? Still yes. So you know, again, that could be semantics, but like in the spirit of those words, I don't think it would overwhelm someone that is into cozy games and just wants it. But if you are like intimidated by going beyond your iPhone, then yes, you know, in this context, a good healthy comparison would be the Switch 2 would likely be your Apple device. The Steam Deck, ROG Ally, especially the ROG Ally, but the Steam Deck would be your Android. The ROG Ally is a much more overwhelming experience, I think, compared to a Steam Deck. Mind you, from my observations and discussions, not having gone hands-on with a ROG.
Yeah. And I want to call out Nerd Chat's comment here. I think the larger size directly shows that this is aimed at adults and more hardcore gamers. I tend to agree. They showed in the video where they had the original Switch and they had like the blue and red Joy-Cons, which were very colorful and played well for the brand. They showed those getting larger, changing the colors, still keeping the accents of the colors, but going all black with the Switch 2 to me shows that they are shedding or at least coding their console to be more something that's because okay, when the Switch came out, a lot of us are in our 30s, 40s, late 20s. It was kind of embarrassing to walk around with a Switch because we had the red and the blue. That's why they offered the gray. And it was kind of embarrassing to be playing video games out in public for a lot of folks. And having something that looks a little bit more like a tablet or a regular handheld like Steam Deck just shows that their design of the actual console is moving away from something that looks less like a toy and more like a tablet.
Agreed. I agree.
So that to that point is just that I think they are going to be going for that higher market. I think that's why they're going with the chipset that they are. They want to try and draw in a little bit of what they got with the Switch 1 when when publishers were porting a lot of their games. Like the fact that Saber Interactive was able to get so many games up and running on the Switch 1 from the 360 and Xbox One and PS4 eras is impressive. It doesn't it's not going to look amazing. It's going to look like a PS1 game, but you still have access to that game. Hogwarts Legacy, my personal game of the year from, what was it, 2021 or 2020? Oh god, we're in 2025 now, aren't we? Yeah, 2023. Yeah. That game is available on the Switch. Like, that is just wild to me. So I think that they very much are trying to continue to push the tech forward enough to stay cost efficient for what Nintendo wants, while still trying to get some of the generations that are more recent as far as third-party publishing goes over onto their hardware so that people will actually pick it up and play it.
Coming back to our core question, Master Chief Collection, Sea of Thieves, I would suggest Hi-Fi Rush as a painful reality that it shows up there. And then, like, I do think you'll see, like, your Spyros, your Activisions and stuff. I think one of the things that surprised me when I was thinking about this question, I was like, I bet they put Doom Eternal over there. Yeah. Eternal's already on Switch 1. Yeah. And it's like, oh, right. Yep. And, like, I hope they do better versions for those audiences. Yeah. Because, like, you know what I mean? Like, having just played, like, my personal favorite game of all time, Arkham Knight, which was cool to do, by the way, because I hadn't played it in several years, to realize the depth of content and everything that game offers in terms of world building after having played Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. As I was like, oh, that was a masterpiece by comparison. So it was really interesting. But, like, looking at what a Switch version offers for some games versus what a Switch 2 might, I would hope for that audience they get the best, because without a doubt, there are plenty of gamers that only live on a Nintendo system, and to get a more modernized version will be wonderful. So I hope that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that the Switch is what got me back into gaming after I had, like, sold my Xbox 360. And it was because of the ports that were coming over that I was like, wow, these are really good games, and I've missed out on quite a few of them. And then I noticed that a lot of these games are ports coming in at full price, and that the cheaper versions look better on other hardware. It's just not on the Switch. And I was like, well, if this is the case, then I'm just going to grab a PC and an Xbox and start exploring these libraries and stuff. So it was the gateway to get me back into a lot of the games that I had stopped playing after I had stopped, gaming for a while.
Agreed. Logan, I want to pause our quick discussion and give a shout out to our members. But first, Beavis and Butthead says, to the guy who called the Switch a toy, are you going to cry when Xbox gets out of the console market? Beavis and Butthead, your name would suggest that you're being a troll, but I will tell you this, my friend. My name's Luke, so you can say that. Also, on XEP, we do not dunk on other consoles. We do not mock other consoles. We play games wherever they are, and we enjoy them wherever they are. So if that is your attitude, my friend, then I will kindly ask you to exit, or else you'll be muted, because it is not a diss to say something like that. Just please know that you are welcome to be here, but we do not dunk on people. Our gaming family celebrates games in all places. Know that. All right. Let's see here. Hey, Addy Dotun, good to see you, my friend. Logan, we had a new patron last week who's also an older patron and a channel member on our channel. But Matto1606 resubscribed over on patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass to tier 3, which is our highest tier on Patreon. He's also subscribed to our second highest tier over on YouTube. I have a higher tier on YouTube, but like I was asked to do that one and it's too expensive, I think. But I was asked to put it there and nobody uses it.
I know that feeling.
You know what I mean? Like people are like, please do more. We want to do more. But like it feels egregious to ask for a $25 tier. So I don't, it's really, there, but
yeah. No, I feel the same way. Like there's a reason why my Patreon for Keelhauled is capped at a certain level. It's like they're like, hey, you could go higher. And I'm like, that's a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I appreciate the offers for those that have it to share, but I don't know that I'm on that one. Nonetheless, Matto1606 at tier 3 over at patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. We appreciate you. Channel members, your names have been scrolling at the bottom, and I will be updating that list before our next episode also as new people enter. Logan, we like to share our tier 2 and 3 shout outs, and I'm going to ask if you are willing to read those names this week.
Yeah.
All right. Hit it, my friend.
As always, with content creation, there are costs involved, and it's because of the patrons that we are able to help take care of those costs. So it's not always out of pocket, which in a lot of cases it tends to be. So we like to shout out the tier 2 and tier 3 patrons over on patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass to let them know that we appreciate their support, and it does mean a lot because it does help each month go a little bit easier in our lives. So thank you to Fado, Aaron G, Nick Bentley, The Scarecrow, Ken Rosing, Fabian Winkler, Stephen H., Edward, Regis Stella, the Brony Pirate, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Nicholas Johnson, Randall Thor 19, African, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Rick Davis, Matt Valdez, Red Beast, Dano 12, DJ Hero, Brennan Myers, aka The Winter Gamer, Lord Sir Master James Suddy, and Sony's VP of Marketing, Kevin Butler. Thank you all so much for your support. It does help, and I hope that you guys are all having a fantastic week so far.
There we go. All righty then. So Logan, in short, my friend, let's cap off the topic of Switch 2 and then answer the question whether or not we feel it's competition. So 1, are you planning to get a Switch 2 at launch based on like what you know at the moment?
No, I'm still pretty happy with my Switch OLED. The Legend of Zelda edition still does a lot of what I needed to do. They're going to have to really showcase the games that are not going to be available on the Switch 1 for me to consider it at this moment. But eventually I will. Eventually, like when I see the next Zelda game, I will drop whatever cash they're asking for and pick it up and enjoy it. But I got 2 Switches, dude. I have one of them doesn't get any use, and then one of them gets more use than the other. So I still have to figure out what to do with one of my 2 Switches as it is.
Yeah, no, I understand that feeling. I've got some stuff that I'm like, I need to sell this, but I'm wary of doing. I understand.
It's like I have 2 Xboxes too. Like I have 2 Xbox Series X's, one in one room and one in this room. And I was like, do I really need 2 Xbox Series X's? Do I really need 2 Nintendo Switches? Right. Like on the verge of getting like another PS5 at this point.
At one point you did need 2 Series X's for like the Sea of Thieves content, but then Sea of Thieves ended up in other places, so it changes your needs, right?
Yeah.
So for me as well, I do not anticipate at this moment in time, right? Like with what we know, and I do not anticipate needing or wanting a Switch 2, but I'm really excited it's happening because I loved the Switch 1 for several years. And while I do still think of Switch 2 as a toy, or Switch as a toy compared to tech, I freaking love toys, right? I love toys. So like, heck yeah.
You have a ton of toys.
I have so many, right? Like so many. Oh, I forgot to turn my lights on behind me.
You did.
Oh, well, I did.
You also left your hallway light or your stairway light on too.
I turned on the other lights here because my eyes have been so sensitive lately, and I didn't want to wear the blue light glasses because it can put a shade. But my eyes have been worn. That's actually the only thing that keeps me out of VR as often as I like to be in there. Is my eyes get very tired through the week. And as I said, a lot of 12-hour days. So that's why. Game Positive in chat drops a $2.79, probably a $3 American super chat, saying, "Imagine drafting MLB The Show in our
Such
fantasy
an inside
critic."
joke. Oh
I
my
feel
God.
like it's a good draft. You know,
I feel like MLB Show does well.
it's a consistent
And I
score.
what I will say is I do have a backup, but it's not announced yet. So, you know, if things are starting to look a little dire for drafting MLB The Show 25, I've got a good backup lined up for it, so I'm not too worried about it. Calling us out on that.
Stormy Sea Dog, like a good comment, right? Says, "I wouldn't call consoles toys if I'm honest." And I wonder if that's a semantic thing. Hey, SJ, good to see you. Because I think the comparison between a Switch designed for younger gamers, colorful, brighter, the games are more youthfully tuned, I guess you would say. Feels like one more so, but I feel like some are getting caught up on my verbiage. Maybe I should is there a different way to say it that still has the same meaning?
Maybe I can pose a scenario that might change people's perspectives. If I were to tell you, like, let's take a Switch Lite, okay, $200 Switch Lite, we'll put it on the table, nice bright colors and stuff like that, and then I go and I get a iPower or Cyber Power like gaming PC off of Costco shelf with some RGBs and stuff, and I stick the two together on a table, and I tell you both of these play video games, not all of the games and stuff like that. If a normal consumer looks at those two, which are they going to consider more of the toy? If you offered the toy as the word to describe one or the other.
Sure.
I don't necessarily think, like, I don't personally think that the Switch is a toy, but it does have a childish, or not childish, but a childlike charm to it that I get when I play with toys.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. There you go. And that helps, I think, with the comparison. So thank you there. One thing that anybody that knows me knows, it's not a diss. You know,
look here. Hold on. I'm gonna go grab something real quick.
My favorite toy of all time is the Dragon Zord. Never had it as a kid. I still play with it. I'm 40. I'll be 40 this year.
This is my 1998 Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time folder sleeve for a 3-ring binder that I got as a pre-order bonus for the game. Guess where I pre-ordered it from?
Toys R Us.
Toys R Us.
I
said it. It's my Toys R Us pre-order. I go to consoles for fun, for enjoyment. So if it's a toy, then it's a toy.
Right.
It's not insulting someone for playing with toys. It's just that's what we would call it. Like my Series X could be considered a toy. It's not a necessity. It's just a piece of entertainment that I use to play video games with. If I want to call it a toy, or if I don't want to call it a toy, that's fine. But it's one of those things where I feel like it doesn't matter.
Nah.
It's just a word. And we're not trying to insult anyone or hurt anyone's feelings by degrading one console over another, because that's not the intent.
Absolutely not. No, anyone that knows us and our content would never think that. Plus, like, let's not forget, Nintendo Switch has outsold everybody by like buku margins. People want toys. They're awesome.
I remember when Animal Crossing came out. We were all happy to sit around in COVID life with our
Animal
toys.
Crossing and Doom, man. Oh,
saved us.
So let me ask, let's get to our final topic here. And chat, please weigh in, because I have not come to my answer on this one. I'm still unsure. Is the Switch first? Oh, I'm sorry. I had this big build up, and then Game Positive got me. Luke, how many times have you blown into the imaginary Dragon Dagger to summon the Dragon Zord? For me, it's been way too many times. I have a Dragon Dagger. I still like do I know the keys to do with it on. I love the Dragon Dagger, man. Oh yeah.
Why does it sound like a trumpet though?
It's the best part about it. If you watch the show, his mouth can't move because it's a face shield. You blow into the flute. It's a dragon flute, and it sounds like a trumpet, and it makes no sense. But it's fun. So here's the big question, Logan, and I have not come to my answer here. Do we think of the Switch 2 as competition for Xbox, for the Xbox handheld? I find You do think of it as competition.
I
Please
do
talk
think
me
of
through
it.
your logic.
So I do think of it as competition because I feel like the Switch 2, if it starts to get ports from Xbox, will have the same effect that bringing Xbox games over to the PlayStation will have. People will find less reason for why they need Xbox hardware. If I can get the games on Switch 2, then why do I need an Xbox handheld? Because if they start porting, if they start going third party publisher on this and they start porting all their games over to Switch 2 and the Switch 2 can handle them and they still look pretty good, and I get Nintendo's first party IP that I can't get anywhere else, then yeah, I definitely think of it's competition. That is kind of why Xbox has been frustrating hardcore fans like the fanboys, because they are pushing their content to more and more ecosystems that do offer content that is exclusive to those consoles, PC with the exception. But yeah, I do think it is competition.
I tend to agree to a point.
Mm-hmm.
But because of Xbox's new strategy and their willingness to put titles onto other places, less and less do I think of Xbox as going to have their own console, right? Like, I do not understand the spirit of their strategy right now. I understand the number aspect, like we need to get more return on investment. Satya Nadella is at the table. We put this much in, we need this much out. For God's sakes, they're having to refute reports about monies not being made back from Call of Duty. And that's scary that they're even bothering to have to refute that, but it comes down to investors. But the other side of that coin is that the traditional console space, in which PlayStation and Nintendo, their two biggest rivals in terms of consoles, are selling far better because they're playing the traditional game.
Yeah.
Nintendo plays the traditional console game. Stick with me, and then refute. Because Nintendo plays the traditional game, and Sony played the traditional game for so long that it traded on its single player exclusives, that they sold consoles galore, both of them. Enter Jim Ryan on the PlayStation side really broke their flow, really changed the company's direction, and really is a shame. Like, you look at reports of the God of War cancel. What a stupid ass thing to do. I'm just so offended for PlayStation fans, because as someone who loves God of War 2018, who enjoyed Ragnarok, who loves Spider-Man, who loves a lot of those PlayStation exclusives, it's just a freaking shame to see the direction PlayStation's going with its games now. I mean, look at Concord, great example of a one that live service for 1,000 reasons, right? And so when they played the traditional game, the two biggest console rivals were successful in selling consoles. And now Xbox, which didn't have the games and was trying to not play traditionally, now has the games and is playing so atypically in the space that it's like, yo, now's when you could sell consoles. Can you imagine if Doom, Dark Ages, Call of Duty, Fable, all the others that they've got were coming out exclusively? Like, if Indiana Jones maintained exclusivity and was winning awards, eventually it would be undeniable that you should pick up an Xbox.
Yeah.
That said, not a realistic expectation for modern sales space. You need more money to come in from these major AAA titles. But like, I don't know, man. It doesn't look to me like South of Midnight, a game that I'm stoked for, or Avowed that I'm stoked for, Outer Worlds 2 interested in. It doesn't look like those are getting the budgets of Call of Duty. So like, should you not? It's a null argument, but my bigger point is, do I think of them as competition? Do I think the Switch 2 is competition? No. If anything, I think of it as another way to get people playing Halo, interested in Halo, interested in Gears of War, interested in all of these things. But that's me answering it in January. When we talk again in a year, will I have a different answer? And then probably.
Yeah, it's a real shame that Xbox decided to go the way that they did to continue to survive. Like, obviously, like, we saw an interview with the information stating that Satya Nadella was looking to either wind down Xbox or acquire a publisher. They obviously acquired the publisher, so this will hopefully give a little more longevity. But we've seen Xbox numbers stagnating. The console didn't sell nearly as well as we were hoping that it would, given the strives that they put in to make the hardware really, really competitive, especially with the smaller entry in the little boy. So we're at the point now where I think that Xbox has set the precedent that their games could go to other consoles. So now they're in the same camp that I think a lot of people treat Ubisoft, where Ubisoft fans, if they're not like diehard going to jump on day one, they will wait for a sale, because we all know Ubisoft games go on sale, and they go on sale within like the first few months. And then by the time a year comes around, they've got expansions and the base version is super cheap. And I feel like Xbox is now putting themselves in that position where people may just wait to see where their games are going to go eventually, and then choose the platform that has access to the most exclusives that they want.
Right. No, yeah, your logic is sound. Like, I'm stoked for, like, exclusives is such a strange word, because like next week, no, 2 weeks from now, Spider-Man 2 comes to Steam. Like, they're out of the exclusivity game, right?
Yeah.
Switch is the only one that's got exclusives. That Switch will be the only place where you can play Xbox and PlayStation games, citing Lego Horizon as the kind of first, yes, a fair,
It's
like,
the step
yes,
in.
the
It's like
step in.
the
It's
Ori,
step in.
Will and the Wisps, like
Perfect.
step into.
Took the words out of my mouth. That's yes. And so Switch 2 might be the only place for that, for a window of time. And so there is something to that. I want to read some comments from people in our chat today.
Yeah.
Stormy Sea Dog reminding
Good guy.
us that, big time. I've seen him in the your Twitch. Is it your Twitch?
Yeah.
Did I see it? Yeah, I see Stormy, because you streamed last night too. I was lurking. COD is on both consoles, PlayStation and Xbox, but not on Switch yet. I think that's a hardware limitation, and it will likely launch on Switch too. So if you count that, I'd bet you $100 it shows up on.
Well, that was part of the agreement too.
Correct.
The 10-year deal was that COD was going to start coming to the Switch too.
Yep. Let's see. So that was Stormy Sea Dogs. Straight Poison TV. That's a oof. I love that name. I play Xbox games via handheld PC. ROG Ally. Switch 2 will crush an Xbox and handheld in sales. Agreed on both accounts. I don't think an Xbox handheld has a prayer of comparing to Switch 2 handheld sales, but I don't know necessarily that that's what Xbox wants to do when they're licensing out what it means to be an Xbox to other manufacturers. But your point, fully agree. And it's dope that you can play your Xbox via your ROG Ally. That's something I wish I could fully do with a Steam Deck. Because again, that's a halfway in, halfway out category. Yeah. And my hope is that we're able to review a ROG Ally at some point. We'll see there.
Yeah, I genuinely hope that whatever the Xbox handheld is, it pulls a lot from what the Switch does and not from what the Steam Deck does. Because I think the Steam Deck is a really good piece of hardware. ROG Ally is a really good piece of hardware. Lenovo Go is going to be a really good piece of hardware. I think there's something magical about being able to just lift the console right out of the dock, and then it comes with the dock. That is so important. And I think with a lot of these handhelds that they don't do is they don't give you the dock. And there's alternatives. There's like a $120 charger right now that just released that allows you to use it as a dock for your other handhelds and stuff, 100-watt like charger. But they need to have something like that. Like, I need to feel like my Xbox Series X handheld is just something that I can just slip into a little device that just charges and ports over the content, and it's as easy as the Switch the dock is. That right there is what keeps me from investing so heavily into so many of the other handhelds, because otherwise they sit in a case in a drawer somewhere, and it's not as easy for me to just pick up and play.
I'll openly state, I think that's one of the problems with the Steam Deck, and I hope the Steam Deck successor has that, because I want a dock to do just that. Like, sometimes, because I love playing, but like, I want to play my I don't want to. I want to play more Spider-Man. but I get 2 hours unless I'm plugged up. So, you know,
Yeah.
amazing super chat from Addy Dotune. Thank you for the €5 super chat. Says Microsoft will continue to be in this space. It's a driver for Game Pass. They view it like the Surface products. Also, losing last gen has done its damage. I don't think they just lost last gen. I think they lost the gen before that. And again, Phil Spencer on record saying this. Fully agree with his logic. Yeah, losing the Xbox One PS4 generation ruined it. They had their Jim Ryan era way back in the Xbox One time, where they pushed the wrong method of interest for consumers, and so that is, I think, it just came at the worst time. And PlayStation is insulated by Jim Ryan's tomfoolery and pushing these like live service God of War titles and Last of Us live service, Last of Us multiplayer, and like pushing those directions when taking the talent away from single player exclusives, which they traded on, in a total bummer. So, yeah, man, I think you're absolutely right. Let's give Tim Purr his flowers here. Says, I love my series consoles. It's my primary for now. If I jump ship to another console, then they lose my third party spending. So he's saying like if Xbox is not making a console, they are going to lose his third party spending. Yeah, that's the downside. I honestly don't know if they're getting enough third party spending, and that's the question, right?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to know like how much Microsoft is making. They're spending a lot on those deals for Xbox Game Pass. We've seen the games coming to Game Pass kind of be a little bit less impressive. And they still haven't pushed a lot of that ABK deal IP yet. Like there's still a lot of content that's available from Activision Blizzard that they could very easily put on there to throw into the Switch 2 mix that we were talking about. I would hope that there's a Switch 2 version of the Diablo 4 out there that they just haven't brought over yet. That would be fantastic.
It is beyond me why some of those legacy titles aren't there.
Yeah.
Beyond me. Like it's been a year plus, you know. You're showing Kirby. I don't understand the reference.
I remembered I was wearing my Kirby shirt, so I was just.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
It's Kirby.
Todd Oxtra, lifelong friend of XEP, says once Xbox said everything is an Xbox, we know their focus. Xbox leadership just won't pull off the Band-Aid and say our games are everywhere, but play them first with Game Pass Ultimate. You can't even play them first with Game Pass Ultimate because some stuff's not there. And that's the problem with their messaging is some stuff's resigned to BattleNet. Some stuff's only on Steam, citing Towerborn. And so it is very strange right now. I honestly don't think Towerborn and Warcraft legacy titles are a big deal to Xbox, but that's not the point. The messaging that is muddled is the point. And I honestly think that will work its way out, but just from the outside looking in, it doesn't feel like Xbox is unified in its direction. It feels like they've got their toe dipped in several different pools and they're wondering which one to jump. It feels from the outside looking in like there is a tug of war happening with the brand. And again, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know if that's true. It just feels on a consumer side and a content creator side that that's what's happening.
Yeah, from my perspective, if I had to say like, oh, this is what's going on in conference rooms, Satya Nadella is looking at what the future of the Microsoft space is, which is AI. You've got Xbox as a brand trying to grab onto any handhold they can to justify their existence, and everything that is coming from the CEO down is AI is where it's going to be. Why isn't AI more established in gaming and in Xbox? And Xbox is like, this is not that market. Please do not shove this into that market because it will get rejected. The best we can do is open up the market to where our content is and try and drive sales and numbers that way.
I like the discussion that's brought up specifically from Straight Poison. Again, love his name. No one buys games on Xbox. We mainly use Game Pass. We buy on PS5 and Steam. That's why Xbox is making the third-party push. I would love numbers on that. Like I genuinely would, because I think that's a memed stereotype,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Like again, you might be right, but I don't think we have evidence to support or deny you. Right?
That.
I know
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
well, I would say like on a strictly Xbox side, to say that most people play on Game Pass makes sense, but then you look at numbers for Starfield sales, for the number of people that upgraded to play early, the number of people that purchased a lot of the 3-day early access stuff for Forza, and you see that there are Xbox people who could just wait 3 days, but they still buy. They still buy the upgrade. Call of Duty was the best example of this, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you are right in saying that straight poison, but I understand where you are coming from. And sometimes perception is reality. But in a world now where, like, to compare to my PlayStation, I never touch my PlayStation except when they've got the game I want, which is the new God of War, a Spider-Man. And even then, that's starting to fade. So, so that's there. I'm starring your comment, Bacon. I just want to give Logan a chance to answer.
Yeah, no, I feel like this is kind of in the same line of the kind of commentary that I see when people say like, oh, well, PlayStation gamers buy games, but they don't ever play them. And you know, if you look at the completion rates for a lot of the games, like the first party games and stuff, there's a lot of people buying Spider-Man 2, but not a lot of people finishing Spider-Man 2. And it's in that same vein of conversation. It's like, at the end of the day, some of these numbers matter, some of them don't. I don't know that they necessarily do in the case that Xbox is losing. I think the problem with Xbox is that a lot of people don't think of Xbox as the main place to go for games, and the fact that many people, many casual gamers, I'll die on this hill. I think more casual gamers are playing live service games that are from last generation. GTA 5, football games that come out on annual basis is Call of Duty, Fortnite, Roblox. I think the games that are the persistent ones are the ones that a lot of people are playing, and that is what is harming sales more than what games are available where.
Right. I also want to point out that I think in the Xbox users' cases, you're going to sell way more if you're multi-platform and you're on PlayStation as well as Xbox than you would on Xbox based strictly on install base, you know?
True. Yeah.
Like
more available.
More available. Yeah. It's not even a competition. I think it's 5-1 this generation between PlayStation and Xbox. There's 5 PlayStations for every 1 Xbox is the last I think that I remember. And like that's why they're in more places, Xbox is, right?
Yeah.
And so if you are releasing multi-platform, you're gonna sell more on PlayStation 9 times out of 10 because of the way the math works out. And that's not because Xbox users aren't buying it, it's because there's less Xbox users. So
yeah,
you know, per capita is the matter there. Let's see. X Bacon Gaming asked me to address. I think I need to write a larger comment so it gets read. PlayStation has no games and it's dead. Hopefully Luke reads this one. PlayStation does not have PlayStation games in 2024 and 2023 compared to the way it used to. The problem with the PlayStation model is that it takes 7 years to make, and remasters became their discussion point, like their pillar to lean back on. But I will tell you, I have no problem with remasters. I don't like when remasters come at the expense of the new game. And clearly we are finding out that that PlayStation has been pivoting to live service unsuccessfully, right? But I don't think PlayStation is dead. I do think it's freaking dope that I can now play PlayStation games on my Steam Deck. That's dope, right?
Yeah.
What do you think? Is Sony dead?
I think to be fair, Sony had one first party title last year that I can think of, and 2 second party titles that year's
Concord.
Oh yeah, they had Astrobot and Concord. So 2 first party. One didn't do well. One did really well.
One won game of the year. The other one got shut down 6 days in.
You know, if you got to kill one to save the other, then fine. That's still amazing. But they had Helldivers too, and they had Stellar Blade, and both of those did fairly well. One of them was actually like a zeitgeist moment for the industry. So it was really fun to see like how Helldivers 2 started off.
Weren't they weren't they both zeitgeist moments? Because I remember with Stellar Blade, the sexism and the hard R was like the conversation zeitgeist, and then Helldivers was everyone playing it.
Yeah, I guess technically, if you bring in like the sexiness of Stellar Blade, then yeah,
Stellar
I don't
Blade
remember what the
like
hard R was,
but
too. But yeah, like they had some good games last year. It's just they aren't their mainline titles, which is always going to be kind of like the okay, well, when's Wolverine coming out? When's the next project from Santa Monica Studios coming out? When's the next Ghost of Tsushima coming out? Like they've got games in the pipeline that are coming. So I'm looking forward to reasons why I should boot up my PlayStation, because I genuinely love those games. They're just not frequent enough for me. Whereas I get more content in live service games from Xbox and more enjoyment from the communities built around those games than I do based on like exclusives.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're right. Addy Dotune with a good comment saying, remember Phil said if Starfield was an 11 out of 10, it wouldn't shift the sales needle. Maybe we need to shift away from this. It's not going to change. I think very few things sell consoles. I think when you make elite popular titles, and again, I know I'm the superhero guy, but if you remove that, when you have Spider-Man exclusively in a world where Spider-Man No Way Home brings 3 Spider-Men together and everyone's watching in off the roof numbers, then it's going to sell consoles. Like well-recognized characters sell consoles in the same argument style that Mario sells Nintendos, right? Yeah. So I think when you've got a highly recognizable character, you're going to sell consoles. And right now, Xbox lacks that. Blade and Indiana Jones are not going to sell consoles. Starfield, a new IP that lacks a mascot or even a consensus on how to play the game, is not going to sell consoles. So that's the big difference between a Legend of Zelda, a Spider-Man, a God of War, a Mario. Is it a highly recognizable thing where you look at the box, the cover, the screenshot, the thumbnail? That's what that is. You can't get that from Starfield. With Indiana Jones, with respect to all of my gray bearded friends, like I think my point is proven. You don't get, like, he's not a highly recognizable character. It doesn't matter how good the game is. And so that's what sells consoles. And I'm not trying, like, I hate that people think it's
incorrect.
If it's factually incorrect, if we do not hear about a number at the dev direct about people playing Indiana Jones, more than 1 million people have been playing Indiana Jones. It doesn't matter about even console sales. Mm-hmm. If we don't hear about it, then I think that's an indicator among many options of indicators.
We didn't get numbers for Call of Duties, but we know it was one of the best-selling ones.
We did get numbers for Call of Duties.
What were the numbers?
We did. They released that it upticked subscription sales by like 30%. They released that more people played Black Ops 6 than Modern Warfare 3.
Yeah, we know that they said that it was good, but they didn't give like hard numbers on like how many people playing. They didn't give like copies sold.
I think copies sold is a difficult thing to do when you've got the upgrade ability.
But is that what you're expecting from Indiana Jones, though?
What I'm expecting? No, I'm not expecting. What I would like is more than 1 million people have explored Gaza or explored the pyramids or whatever else you go to. I haven't played the game, but like an indicator of sorts that people are enjoying and interested. We have not gotten that, and that surprises me. Right?
I will respectfully disagree. We're not going to agree on this, but I do think that seeing Indiana Jones listed as like Game of the Year contender for the DICE Awards is a good indicator that this is a really good game and that a lot of people are invested in Indiana Jones. In fact, I would bet that Indiana Jones is probably going to do, or the Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is going to do more for Indiana Jones than the last 2 movies that they put out, and may have a better chance of actually putting out a sequel to that game than them coming up with another movie. PlayStation just put one of.
I agree with that. I agree with that part.
And PlayStation just put on their PS Plus like list of games that came out this month. They just released one of the old Indiana Jones games, and
neat.
if marketing is in the mindset there, they're getting Indiana Jones in PlayStation gamers' minds. Like, hey, Great Circle is coming in May, this spring. Like, here's one of the old games if you want to jump into it to get your indie fix while you're waiting for that exclusive to come over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. You and I will not agree on Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And so I'll ask our people that are watching the VOD or whatnot to comment just in our comment section about their thoughts as far as like Indiana Jones and whether or not it's the IP that it needs to be for Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'll remind everybody that like it's not Indiana Jones's job to save Xbox. That's an unfair thing we sometimes do to games.
It being a not a good game, but a great game will instill more faith for future titles if we start to continue to see this trend. Like if Avowed comes out and is a great game that everyone is talking about how good it is, that will put more faith into Fable. And then more people will, if Fable is a great game instead of just a good game, then people will start to put more faith in Xbox because the trajectory will start to improve, the quality, the caliber of game will go up, and the community stock of what Xbox games is going to rise the same way that it did when the Uncharted series started to come out with The Last of Us, when the God of Wars got rebooted, when the Spider-Man started to release sequels. Like the expectation of quality is going up, so the caliber of the IP or the ecosystem goes up as well. So I think Indiana Jones is a good start for us to see what Xbox can do when Xbox gives their best teams an IP that's recognizable, whether you agree with that or not, and that they do well with it, and that people talk about it more when it comes to like awards.
Do you anticipate? I think we can confidently say Fable will be good to great, right? I think the trajectory of quality and the time spent, good to great. I don't see Fable launching like a Redfall, is what I guess I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no.
So let me ask you this. A successful Fable, like a good game of Fable. That's what I mean by successful. A good game of Fable compared to a good game of Indiana Jones. Which one's better for the Xbox brand? I think Fable.
Well, I think Fable is, first off, a legacy IP for Xbox, so it already has a cachet with the fan base who's been around since the Xbox One, or not the Xbox One, the first Xbox.
Yeah,
that's another issue with Xbox. Yeah, there's a reason why the PlayStation is the most popular console, because you understand number, and when number go up, you buy bigger number.
Bigger number, good.
Bigger number, good. So yeah, I think Fable is yet to be seen, like how that's going to play out. I think that it has if it's a great game, I think it will do more for Xbox, especially if they keep it exclusive.
They're not, but so you didn't answer my question. Which one's better for the brand, Indiana Jones or Fable? I don't think Indiana Jones comes close to helping Xbox compared to a Fable.
I mean, in a world where exclusives are no longer Xbox's MO, I don't think either help, because it's not going to impact Xbox the way it would if it were an exclusive. If Fable is an exclusive, then everyone will have to buy a PC or an Xbox or get access to Game Pass to be able to buy it. So yes, it would then do more for Xbox than what Indiana Jones is doing, because we know Indiana Jones is going to PlayStation. Fable's still a bit of a mystery in that sense, so it's harder to call out like that's going to be better for the brand. But again, it goes back to the fact that Fable has been an Xbox IP since inception. So there's a name cachet there that will resonate with Xbox gamers more than PlayStation gamers, more than Nintendo gamers. So at that level, Fable will do better for Xbox because it's an Xbox IP. It's like saying the Halo will do better for Xbox than I don't know, Doom.
Interesting. I don't know that. I don't think we agree, but I also don't know. Like, I don't think there's clear consensus no matter who you are, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a hard question to answer.
It's a hard question. That's what I'm trying to. Yes, it's a difficult question. It's not a fair question. I do know one thing, Logan. None of these games are going to sell LG TVs or Samsung TVs. None of them. Not a single one.
No. But it's nice to know that if you want to play these games and all you have is an LG or Samsung TV, one of the newer ones, that you'll at least be able to do that without necessarily having to buy an Xbox. So you can have your PlayStation underneath the TV, and you can still get access to whatever on Game Pass without needing to buy another console, and you're still giving money to Microsoft.
Yeah. Logan, I think that's a great place for us to start to wrap up. I enjoyed our episode today for sure. We went longer than we had planned to, but I genuinely loved the discussion.
Yeah,
it was good. I will ask anybody today that if you enjoyed our episode to please click the like button, share this to people you think would be relevant. And if we have ever helped you get through rough times, helped you, just pass the time or whatnot, and you're able to support us via Patreon or channel membership or anything like that, please consider doing so, because it does help. And it's going to be one of the, like, the early window of the year is a lot. So it does help. It does help. And shout out to Khalif Adams. Don't know where he ended up today, if his schedule allowed, but hoping he is able to get with us in the future. So, because that's something I would like to happen.
I just want Logan, cooking tips. That's all.
What's that, buddy?
I just want cooking tips. That's all? Is that so much to ask?
Yeah. I would enjoy the Paris Khalif banter. I do want Paris to join us as well. That is a barrier I've yet to break, and I would love for Paris to be on here. So that would mean a lot. Just because they legends in the content creation space, role models for breaking barriers. And as we continue to get new opportunities, it's important to honor those that have, paved that way. So, all right, Logan, would you please, I know you streamed last night. Would you be so kind as to share what you got going on with Keelhauled?
Yeah. So Keelhauled, we're going to be talking about the Reaper event this week. There was just a lot of kegs to be had out in the world, and they're bringing 5-year-old content back to the game, where it should have been kind of like an annual cycle. So instead of it just being like once every 5 years, we should have expected like the Reaper keg event to happen every January, like after Grogmanay. There's been some interesting things going on with that studio. It feels a little like someone's not at the helm right now, but they are working towards improving the quality. The game is still in a pretty decent state. I'm not going to say the game is dead or that there's anything majorly wrong with it, but they are being a little more reserved with their timelines, giving their devs a little bit more time to fix a lot of the issues that are with the game at a base level, as opposed to shoving more content into the game, regardless of what it's going to break or damage towards the consumer experience. So we're going to be talking about that on Keelhauled. That'll be out on Monday. I am looking back into getting like streaming started up again too. I just want to play games that I enjoy playing, whether that be Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, whatever it may be. That's kind of where I'm going to be going. So definitely keep an eye out for that. That's just at Cap Logun on Twitch. You can also see my Blue Sky thing right here. So feel free to follow over on Blue Sky. Otherwise, I'll be in the Discords, chatting with folks in XEP Discord and my Discord.
There you go. I'm on Blue Sky at InsipidGhost and enjoying that platform there. Of course, we would love for you to keep an eye on the channel, because we do have so much content kind of arriving in the next week. I have a preview this coming week. I have an interview, if that holds, this coming week. You'll have your A50s, which if our week is crowded, we'll do into the week after. We got a lot. We got a lot coming that we're proud of, nervous about, excited about. And so we hope you all enjoy it. Anytime you enjoy our content, We appreciate anybody clicking that like button, etc. So that can be it for us, my friend.
Yeah, as far as I know.
That is it for us. Have a fantastic rest of your week, everyone. Take care.